Well, originally I had a whole skit planned for the beginning of this video. I had everything all set up and ready to go, but thanks to YouTube's garbage fair use policy and the fact that copyright infringement is just crooked and broken, unfortunately I was unable to upload that video. So I'm just gonna give you the cliff notes. This is my official review of Fallout 3 and why I think it's the greatest story ever. I apologize that this introduction isn't as lighthearted and whimsical and magical as I had made it before. I don't have the energy to go through all that again, and I'm kind of bummed out that YouTube just refuses to care about smaller channels in this way. So without further ado, enjoy the review. Hopefully it's still good without the stuff that I originally planned on having in it. Thanks for watching.
Born in the vault, we die in the vault.
No, I'm not baiting you. I'm not trying to ruffle your feathers, put you in a bad mood, nor am I trying to cause a massive conspiracy. Allow me to remind you, this is simply my opinion. Fallout 3 has the greatest story, and I'm part of the 1% of people left on Earth who love it, faults and all. I feel like the fucking Enclave right now. If you saw my review of Fallout New Vegas, you'll know that I already stated that that one has always been my favorite in the series. The gunplay, along with its intriguing decisions, dynamic reputation system, and massive amounts of well-designed side quests, it's a lot of fun, but the story isn't nearly as emotional as the third games. A lot of you are probably laughing at that statement, so chill out a second and let me explain. Fallout 3's storytelling isn't the same as the first two. I'm aware that the previous games were developed by a separate company, and therefore shared mixed reactions with players when Bethesda decided to take it on. I think, for most people, this game is hated by some because it isn't anything like the original Fallout games. I'm not even just referring to the blatant fact that they turned it into a first-person shooter rather than taking the game head-on at another isometric angle like before. I also think it was ridiculed for the general direction it aimed to go, when it wasn't nearly up to par with certain standards that were promised. Fallout 1 had an interesting time limit. If you don't find the water purification chip within a certain amount of days, the game is over. There's nothing you can do but restart. You can add days to the deadline by completing specific side quests, though it's not considered to be necessary. In Fallout 2, we have an epic battle on an oil rig with one of the scariest factions introduced to the series, the Enclave, represented by the most terrifying boss there is, Frank Horrigan. Another comment said it best: communication in Fallout is like the BFG in Doom. Sometimes it's your best weapon against an enemy you don't wish to fight. Frank Horrigan doesn't give a shit though, and doesn't care to talk. He only wants to crush you into paste and eat lunch with his buddies right afterward. He's the sole reason why I'd like to play the second game in the series and really see how the old games hold up.
You've gotten a lot farther than you should have. But then you haven't met Frank Horrigan either. Your ride's over, Muty. Time to die. Me, Frank Horrigan. That's who. United States Secret Service. You aren't going anywhere from here. We just did. Time for talking's over.
Well, Fallout 3 has... It's kind of like, you know, alright, give me a fucking minute. I'm still recovering from playing New Vegas, so please be patient with me as I try to explain why I loved Fallout 3's story and consider it to be the greatest. Feel free to hate my guts as well. I can't name a single person in my life who doesn't. What interested me the most about Fallout 3's narrative was the idea that you get to witness your life as you grow in the vault. You start off as a cringe infant witnessing your parents welcome you into this world.
Let's see. Are you a boy or a girl? It's a boy. A boy. We've got a son, Catherine. A beautiful, healthy baby boy.
That's Liam Neeson doing the voice acting as your father. Say what you will about the game, but they've nailed it with the cast lineup. Your father's a doctor inside the metallic underground world you're forced to be a part of, and serves as the epitome of hope that the player is supposed to look up to. We fast forward a year later. Now we're a walking, talking toddler. If you hit E, you can talk to Dad.
Your mother would have been so proud.
The voice of the baby is actually Todd Howard's son. A pretty wholesome fact that I only just recently learned about. This is where you learn the essentials of the game, how to move, interact with things, and what special traits you'd like to take on. Depending on which traits you increase, you'll have varying dialogue options and perks available as you play. You know, I actually want to talk about Todd again. In his words, Fallout 3 was the most ambitious project they had to take on at the time. Not only did they have to impress new and old fans of the franchise, they also had to give it a damn good story full of memorable and dynamic characters along with some outstanding set pieces. The backbone of any great game, in my opinion, is a well-written and deep-rooted story that feels authentic. You can tell while playing it, even in the very beginning, Todd and his team genuinely gave a shit about their game. I respect him a lot for that, using his son's voice and inspiring the very story we're diving into. Much like Vault 101 itself, this is only the first cold drop of water from the ice storm waiting ahead. We fast forward 9 more years to when the player turns 10 years old. During this segment, you're celebrating the birthday party and socializing with the people you've grown to know in the vault. This is not only a basic introduction to the vast dialogue system, but it's also a well done retrospective. I totally believe that all of these people know each other as if they were real neighbors at a community gathering or something. It's not in every story-driven game you get to see relationships like this between various types of people.
I'm hungry, and that stupid robot destroyed the cake. Give me that sweet roll you got from Old Lady Palmer.
Ugh, can't forget about Butch. God, that kid sucks. I remember as a kid, I just wanted to beat the shit out of him. He bullies you to a pretty harsh degree, but it doesn't last long. Suddenly, Dad grabs your attention and brings you downstairs to meet Jonas, another friend in the vault who's been here since you were born.
If you can wait just one more minute, I think your dad will want to give you the surprise himself.
Together, they introduce you to your first weapon, the BB gun. You practice by shooting a couple of targets, including a rad roach. Then Dad asks you to pose for a picture.
Over here, son.
Smile.
Then we cut even further ahead in time, to the age of 16. Dad is preparing you for the big exam known infamously as the GOAT. Every vault dweller takes it at this age, so there are no excuses. If you stay behind and talk to Dad more, you'll pry some sensitive info out of him.
That's not the way it works. And it won't do to go around asking questions like that. Especially not around the Overseer. I want to tell you something now. It's important, so listen closely. This place, this vault, it's not perfect, I know. But it is your home. You're safe here. Stay on the Overseer's good side, and you always will be. You understand? You need to appreciate all you have. Because what's up there, on the outside, that's not the life I want for you. And it's not what your mother wanted for you either. Your mother, she was beautiful. But beyond the beauty you've seen, there's just so much those old photos can never show. And she was passionate about life, about love. But most of all, she was passionate about you. When she became pregnant, it was the happiest I had ever seen her. She had great things in mind for you. And so, time for you to stop stalling and get to class. Please, son, please, take these achievement tests seriously.
Hearing him mention the Wasteland outside vaguely is creepily interesting, and you can ask him why nobody's allowed to leave, since it is kind of a strange concept. It might not be as big of a deal as I'm making it, but I really love how little you know of the horrors that roam on the surface and how often it's reinstated that you cannot ever leave the vault. Dad's warning is enough to send any amateur player's spine into, like, a jelly state.
Daddy's girl.
Go run and tell
Daddy's
your daddy
girl.
on us?
Stay away from me.
I look like I want to chit-chat, nosebleed? What, you want another beating?
You can fight Butch to get him to stop messing with Amada here, but it gets broken up. Then you take the GOAT, which is basically the slower version of Doc Mitchell's segment from New Vegas. You're asked a series of questions that, depending on your answers, will determine your traits and perks as you explore further in the world. Once the exam is complete and you talk to the teacher, suddenly you're fast-forwarded once again. to the age of 19. Your best friend in the vault, Amada, wakes you up in a hurry, spouting some nonsense about how Dad has somehow left the vault and the Overseer has gone mad. The vault is under attack in a state of chaos. She warns you to make a run for the exit. On your way there, you're stopped by Officer Gomez, another character from the beginning of the game. He's the head of security, but goes directly behind the Overseer's back to let you escape. It's the last time we see him, for now. Then we make it to the Overseer's office where he's interrogating his own daughter for our whereabouts. Kill his security guard, and then you can confront him directly.
I hope you're here to turn yourself in, young man. You're already in enough trouble as it is. Don't make it worse for yourself.
I decided to let him live and ran my ass to the main vault's door control, opening the metallic barrier between Everlong's safety and genuine danger. It's a heavy sight to witness emotionally.
Oh my god, you actually opened it.
First of all, this entire segment is so overwhelming to the player, done on purpose for the sake of the narrative, but it's also a great preparation for what you were about to see. Nobody's supposed to be allowed to leave, so why would Dad, of all people? Why wouldn't he tell us anything? How did he manage to escape? You can find a note left by him on the body of Jonas, murdered by the Overseer's psychotic rage.
So many things could have gone wrong, and there's really no telling how the Overseer will react when he finds out. It's best if he can blame everything on me. Obviously, you already know that I'm gone. It was something I needed to do. You're an adult now. You're ready to be on your own. Maybe someday things will change and we can see each other again. I can't tell you why I left or where I'm going. I don't want you to follow me. God knows life in the vault isn't perfect, but at least you'll be safe. Just knowing that will be enough to keep me going.
Don't mean to rush you, Doc, but I'd feel better if we got this over with.
Okay, go ahead. Goodbye. I love you.
After the vault door is open, Amada tells you that you have to leave. With her father still alive, there's a chance she may become the next Overseer. For the first time in our lives, we're being forced out of the home that we had come to know for years. I know that it wasn't the longest introduction, but they really hit it home when it comes to watching your loved ones banish you from the place you were born to die inside of. Once you approach the door, there's one final message that allows you to change some things like your special skills or your looks, as this is the final step we will take from the safety of the vault and into the collapsed world that Dad had warned us about. If ever a game felt more unforgiving than Fallout 3's early segments, I don't wish to discover it. All I remember from my childhood after leaving the vault is how insanely hard the Wasteland was. I thought it was shocking to see a group of mercenaries, the very first outside human contact I had, and these assholes suddenly attack me because there's a bounty on my head? Jesus Christ, really have to prepare before venturing further out of this desolate fucking place.
No, I don't think so.
It proves to the player that the reality outside of the vault really is gruesome, ugly, and twisted. Suddenly, the warning Dad gave us years ago when we took the goat makes a lot of sense. And he wasn't shitting. Almost everything in the Wasteland wants you dead. From super mutants to roaming ghouls, military robots, rad scorpions, and yes, death claws too. It's a mysterious, abandoned place full of trouble and nothing more. Although, I must say, I never noticed this before. At the Super Duper Mart, you can ambush the raiders inside and steal their supplies from the offices. It turned out to be a great idea since the raiders were carrying some great guns and gear. After killing them, I wandered back to the exit and more of them showed up, questioning what happened to their friends. Not gonna lie, I really wasn't expecting a detail like that in a game this old. It's pretty neat. There are plenty of dangerous places to plunder in the world, and plenty of interesting side quests, ones that kept me invested for the entire duration. It's an overwhelming turn of events for the player who spent the entire introduction inside the safety of one of the last working, functioning vaults. Of course, you do find other vault locations with some creepy stuff inside, but they're worth venturing into for the sake of finding out what went wrong inside and what caused the sudden, rapid decay of humanity. So, you might be wondering, where the fuck do I go? At the time, I played this game during my childhood and realized quickly how little it does to hold your hand. You emerge from the vault completely unprepared, so your only choice is to explore. You aren't given a visual directive besides the dot on the compass. It's entirely up to the player to see how it goes. You can ask any random stranger about Dad, but most of the time you'll get a resounding no, a confused response, or people will just straight up try to attack you. But if you go to a nearby settlement known as Megaton, you can inquire more information about him. Megaton is an infamous town for having a ginormous undetonated nuclear warhead planted in the middle, emitting radiation infinitely. The player's obvious two choices come down to either setting off the bomb and destroying Megaton like a shady piece of garbage, or deactivating it and being hailed a hero. What's even cooler is if you tell Lucas Sims, the sheriff of Megaton, that you personally disarmed the bomb and don't want to be paid, he'll give you the keys to your own house.
Hell, why don't you move in? Here's the key and the deed to an empty house. Consider yourself a Megaton citizen.
Now that is ingenuity. You can then get comfortable with Moira at Craterside Supply and buy themes and upgrades for your Megaton house, things like a crafting workbench for weapon mods and blueprints, a doctor's infirmary station, plenty of room for storage, and even an ice-cold Nuka-Cola machine that dispenses drinks every day. Check it out, I even have my own robot assistant. How did I not know about this stuff when I was a kid? It's pretty damn cool to have your own place in a game where nobody ever comes over. It's not too far from my reality, I suppose. Sorry guys, I don't mean to tarry. So, how do we find Dad and tell him we bought a house? Well, the first thing you have to do is talk to this Irish prick named Moriarty, who supposedly knew your father. He tells you that your dad wasn't born in the vault, and neither were you.
Is that what your father told you? That you were born in that hole? That he was born there as well? Oh, the lies we tell to those we love. Your father brought you to the vault right after you were born. To keep you safe, you see. I remember it well, you stayed in my saloon after all. That's right. Your father, his Brotherhood of Steel friend, and you, the suckling babe with nary a tit to suckle. Sorry about your mom, truly.
Well, great. Dad lied to us. Get used to it because it won't be the first time. Our first big clue is to go to a place called Rivet City in hopes to find someone who knows Dad. I'll admit though, it took me quite a while to play the story all the way through. Like I said a minute ago, I was having a lot of fun diving into Fallout 3's classic gameplay. With a combination of mods and the reshade effects I installed, it was hard for me to stop playing. I really do struggle to understand how this, out of all the games, ends up the most hated. Granted, I'm not saying it's up to par with the originals, not even New Vegas, but it does have a compelling narrative that I find myself getting suckered into again and again. Along with the narrative though, I'm being sucked into the gameplay. I'm getting double sucked by Fallout 3 is what I'm trying to say. It's just a humbling experience for someone who didn't spend nearly as much time and effort on it as I should have. Thankfully, I'm an adult and I get to enjoy the luxury of playing the shit out of it now. I don't know, even if it isn't true, I fucking love it. I totally forgot I was supposed to be looking for my dad and instead went on a rampage to try and level up my character as much as possible. I eventually installed mods just to immerse myself further, but I was admittedly enjoying the game a bit too much.
That's the way you want it.
I'm so sick of him saying that when a fucking animal tries to kill us. You're going after the fucking thing with bare fucking fists? That thing is huge. Great. That's the way you want it.
That's the way it has to be.
What do you mean? Oh, that's so cool. I'll take care of this. No, Dad, no, please. Oh, shit, don't.
You think I'm going to let you stop me after all I've been through?
Oh my god, he's a fucking badass. He's like, what, you think a fucking raider's gonna stop me? And Honestly, yeah, it does have flaws. Like every review, I need to talk about the ridiculous stuff that seems to rear its ugly head from time to time inside Fallout 3. The bugs are pretty widely known, and as Todd said for the disastrous launch of Fallout 76, sometimes it just doesn't work. Bodies will flail all around the room if they get stuck on a very thin object, which is hilarious at first, but after a while it starts to fill your head with a constant static feeling and slows your game's frames down. When it happens to robots, I swear it feels like you're stuck inside a fucking washing machine. Another huge complaint of mine, companions can fucking die. For good. I know New Vegas reintroduced this idea, but only in the hardcore setting of the game. Here, no matter what, your companion will die if they take too much damage, even on the easiest difficulty. So often, I found it more entertaining and less guilt-ridden to play solo, but it's much more awkward that way with the silly combat at times. Look at this, we're two big dumb fucking pansies unloading our magazines into each other and neither one of us is winning. This is more embarrassing than cleaning up after your dog when he takes a shit in the middle of a Walmart. Sometimes it's a legitimate headache trying to put your enemies down when they require 8 magazines to kill. Come on, you big green ugly bastard, just fucking die. Thank God. I know this game is old, so I'm always willing to exculpate in that case. However, it does get a bit irritating when I'm trying to defend myself and something knocks me over. What the fuck? Get up, you asshole. War never changes, remember? You're supposed to be the tough guy. That's another thing. You're supposed to be a 19-year-old in this game, so how come whenever you take damage it sounds like a 60-year-old man? Very odd voice casting there, guys. I know it seems like I'm reaching now, but I also don't like how there's no diagonal movement animations. Sure, it adds to the nostalgia, I guess, but it doesn't look good regardless of how you spin it. I can't imagine it was that hard at the time to program your characters turning fucking diagonal left and diagonal right, but apparently it was. It's a stupid complaint, I know. My final complaint is this. The weapon variety is definitely lacking here, at least in comparison to Vegas. There are some unique weapons scattered throughout the Wasteland that deal great damage, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty hard to find ammo for a lot of them and to keep them in good condition at the early game. Yeah, I lied. There's a bit more to this segment. The weapon condition in this game drains faster than a mosquito sticking its fucking proboscis in your face, so you have to be on the lookout for extra guns often in order to repair any you might want to use. There are quite a few moments in the story that force you to move at the same pace as an NPC. It's one of those games that makes you want to rip your fucking hair out because important people say, "Follow me," but then take their sweet ass time going anywhere. Like here, I rescued Dad and he asked me to go with him to Rivet City, yet he keeps talking to the voices in his head or something because he always goes after a nearby enemy against his will. Come on, Dad, it's cute that you want to fight everything on the planet, but this is a bit silly. But I'll get back on track. Once you arrive to Rivet City, you'll have to speak to Dr. Lee, a woman who worked directly with your father and even helped you to be brought into the world.
Look, this is a restricted area. I'm tired of telling you people. It's you. My heavens, you look so much like him. You're James's son, aren't you? What are you doing here?
She informs you that he was seeking out the impossible mission of restoring Project Purity, something massive that was once capable of bringing clear, drinkable water to the Wasteland. It's a pretty silly task to accomplish with how dead and gone the world seems to be, but if Dad believed it were possible, then it must be true. Madison Lee tells you to go find information from the Jefferson Memorial, and sure enough, you'll discover some holotapes left behind by your father.
I'm off to Vault 112 to search for anything of rules that might help me get this purifier up and running. All I know is that it's west of some place called Evergreen Mills, and it's well hidden in some sort of... But I'll find it. I have to.
So he went to a vault, searching for someone who may be able to give him the answers he's looking for. Looks like it's more walking for the fucking vault dweller here. Can't wait to kill more Deathclaws and super mutant gargantuans. Jesus Christ. Isn't it funny how a game this old never fails to make me laugh? Fox went fucking flying there. Well, we get to the damn vault, only to find out we now have to endure this strange simulation, open up one of these egg-like pods, and try to get inside to find out where Dad is being held. Infamous for its hilariously dark narrative, the Tranquility Lane simulation is full of possibilities. You get inside only to discover you're a little boy and there's some weird kid named Betty who's watering flowers. When you speak to her, it doesn't take long to figure out she's the frontrunner of this madhouse.
You don't get to say no. If I want to play a game, you're going to play. And I want to.
Perhaps not the most inventive approach, but persuasion can be quite powerful.
There's a bit of irony here. Braun uses this simulated world to torture the poor souls he keeps trapped inside, all for the sake of entertainment. You'll get the chance to break free from the simulation by entering the abandoned house and interacting with the random items inside. Click them in the right order and a giant terminal will appear where you can spawn a wave of Chinese soldiers to come in and murder everybody. What a good prank to pull on the crazed doctor. When you escape the simulation, you're greeted by Dad after he had so recklessly left the vault, and you behind.
Son, you've saved me. I was afraid I'd be trapped in there forever. It's so good to see you, but what are you doing here?
What interests me is how short-lived the reunion feels. Dad is more concerned with solving his work than catching up with you. A message that no doubt would translate into other major events later on. However, as I mentioned earlier, you do have the option of traveling with Dad back to Rivet City. Boy, it's gotta be the silliest thing I ever witnessed. Truly a spectacle of its time, the companionship between you and Dad is unbreakable. After you're done having a father and son hoot and holler session, you and Dad arrive back to Rivet City in time to tell Madison that Project Purity can continue once again. The only thing they have to acquire is a GECK, or a Garden of Eden creation kit, a device so powerful that only few remain in working condition in the Wasteland, and are capable of restoring life as we know it for the betterment of humanity. The final chapters of the game's main quest are definitely the most intriguing and gripping of all. Not only do you have to go through the process of collecting the GECK from Vault 87, which is a highly irradiated and uninhabitable place by most living creatures, but we also have to clear out Jefferson Memorial for Dad and the other Project Purity followers. Once that's done, we help Dad start up the purifier with all sorts of odd tasks when suddenly these guys show up. It's the fucking Enclave. Lots of people talk about boogeymen in Fallout 4's story referring to the Institute and their synths, but if you ask me, these guys were way scarier. Remnant elite soldiers representing what little remains of the United States government, the Enclave believe in one thing: genocide. They kill all who stand before them in hopes to restore the Wasteland back to a civil and governed place, I assume. I guess one could compare the Enclave to the Monolith from Stalker, just a mysterious group that act in violent ways in order to quote-unquote restore what they consider to be order. Why else would they go bothering us? Well, because we have the Purifier, something that Colonel Autumn makes very apparent when he traps your father in the chamber. It's technology that essentially can play God, and the Enclave wants that power.
Sir, this is the last time I am going to repeat myself. Stand down at once and turn over control of this facility.
Colonel, I assure you that this facility will not function. We have never been able to successfully replicate test results.
I suggest you comply immediately, sir, in order to prevent any more incidents. Are we clear?
Yes, Colonel. I'll do whatever you want. There's no need for more violence.
Then you will immediately hand over all materials related to this project, and aid us in making it operational at once.
Very well. Give me a few moments to bring the system online.
What is he doing in there?
Run. Run!
And just like that, the man we spent so long getting used to and trusting after being away for what seems like weeks, sacrifices himself in order to push the Enclave away from obtaining Project Purity for good. Dr. Lee demands that you protect her and the others as you desperately try to juggle your emotions around. I don't know, I really enjoyed this segment of the game. Suddenly the stakes have never been higher. The Enclave are planning to destroy everything that the good Wastelanders you've spent the entire game meeting and helping have built. Worst of all, our own father, the only connection we had left in this corporeal realm, and he was killed before our very eyes. Could this get any fucking worse? It's a decent plot twist, but I do wish they made Dad's death a bit more dramatic in the long run. It feels kinda rushed playing it back today. Either way, we're all alone until Dr. Lee takes us to the Citadel, owned and operated by the technological fiends we love and know as the Brotherhood of Steel. Led by one Elder Lyons, he says you'll have all the help you need in stopping the Enclave for good, so long as you're willing to return the favor. You have to find that working Gek. It's the only way to save Project Purity and keep it afloat. Speaking to Scribe Rothschild, you can figure out where a Gek is located. In the irradiated remains of Vault 87, like I said before, which is too toxic for any human being to go inside of, the levels of radiation surrounding the entrance will kill you in mere seconds, even with a special radiation suit. There is another way in. You travel to Little Lamplight, which is an independent group of children who run a society and stay away from adults. A neat idea, and I enjoyed the fact that they brought MacReady back into the 4th game as an adult. It's nice to see their devotion to the consistency in the timeline. Anyway, after convincing MacReady to let you through, he warns you that the mutants up ahead are pretty dangerous and there may be no coming back. Once you clear them out, you enter the sticky yellowed hallways of Vault 87. This is also where you meet the greatest companion ever designed for a video game, hands down one of the coolest guys invented in the series, and I'm pissed that he hasn't come back.
Finally! Freedom! True freedom! Ha ha ha! I cannot thank you enough for this gift. You have no idea how long I've pictured this moment in my mind, and it feels far better than I'd imagined.
Fox is a gem to behold. He's kind of like if you combined William Shakespeare with Willem Dafoe, turned him green, and gave him steroids. He has such an addictive personality and can be impressed with your intelligence level. He's one of the many reasons I installed this game again. Crazy that a side character has that amount of power. You can free Fox, and he will locate the Gek for you by walking through deep radiation-infested hallways. When he returns, he has a rather emotional parting for you.
As promised, here's the Gek. I hope it's worth it. I'm afraid this is where you and I part company. I'll find my way out of this place. Don't worry. Maybe we'll meet again somewhere in the Wasteland. Sorry. I'm afraid a super mutant wouldn't be welcome in the places you frequent. All I would do is cause you undue attention and, probably get you killed.
When we try to leave, we're interrupted once again by the Enclave. This time they kidnap the player and strip him of his things. Man, I remember being a kid and feeling like shit at this part. You've just gone through literal hell and witnessed a faction of people involve themselves directly with the death of your loved one. It's absolutely foul and deserves divine punishment. I awoke moments later to a Colonel Autumn as he tried to interrogate me, when suddenly President Eden begins to interrupt. He even flat out allows you to get off the chair, grab your gear, guns, and leave the room. He prefers to speak to you face to face, which upsets the Colonel to a high degree. I like this whole part too. Sure, it was pointless to take my weapons away and kidnap me if I was just gonna get all my shit back anyway, but it shows a great dynamic in the shift of power as the Enclave becomes more and more desperate and unhinged. President Eden orders everyone to stand down, but seconds after, Colonel Autumn tells everyone to ignore the president and begin killing you. So regardless, you'll have to fight your way out. Clearly, the Enclave are falling apart.
Attention! This is Colonel Autumn. You are hereby ordered to ignore the President's previous directive. The prisoner from Vault 101 is to be shot on sight. I repeat, shot on sight. This is an order.
When you confront the President of the Enclave, you discover that he's actually a computer. A fucking computer runs what remains of the American government? That's hilarious. If your speech is high enough, you can easily convince President Eden to get rid of the Enclave, as it seems nobody can truly decide who's in power, and even if one of them were, they probably wouldn't make rational decisions anyway. That and, yeah, the genocide stuff was pretty fucked, so I think they should try to sweep themselves under the rug as much as possible. Once this is all said and done, you can come back out of the bunker and meet a familiar face.
My friend! I see I found you at last! I knew you had survived, and I had hoped to assist in your rescue, to repay my debt to you.
With Fox and the Brotherhood at my side, it was time to storm the Jefferson Memorial with all the firepower and strength that we had. The Brotherhood built Liberty Prime, an essential combative droid that stands as tall as a fucking building and throws nuclear warheads at incoming enemies. Holy fucking shit, this was peak gaming. Not even Fallout 4 could bring back Liberty Prime as cool as he was at this moment. Once inside, you can confront Autumn just before activating the Purifier. Usually, since I'm a good-hearted soul in these types of games, I convinced him to stand down, but the Purifier is close to combustion and the place is out of control. Dr. Lee says over the intercom that only one person can enter the chamber and seal it. On different playthroughs, it's the main character who would subject themselves to the dangerously high radiation chamber, ultimately sacrificing their life for the good of the Wasteland. But since I rescued Fox, he was able to go in by himself and prevent a massive disaster. Project Purity is restored. Ron Perlman begins talking about how great of a job you did.
And so it was that the lone wanderer ventured forth from Vault 101. Intent on discovering the fate of a father who had once sacrificed the future of humanity for that of his only child.
And finally, there's a melancholic and saddening image displayed for the player, a shot of you and Dad in a portrait resting on a shelf inside the vault. You know, it's funny how we came this far. What started off as an innocent bonding moment between father and son, a lifetime promise of guarantee and safety, ended up becoming yet another bloody chapter of human history. Fallout 3 has the greatest story simply because it shows that even in the darkest of times, when humanity is brought to the lowest depths of sin and derailment, when humanity crumbles both mentally and physically from the guise of their new world, there is hope. Someone with James's intellect could have used that knowledge for something awful involving Project Purity. I mean, it's kind of a big fucking deal to have clean water in a world surrounded by irradiated wasteland. The fact that he only wanted to improve the world they knew for his own child makes the story that much deeper and that much greater than any of the others in the series. There's even a small side quest for when you return to the vault and try to restore order inside. I'll be honest, by this point, you're fully upgraded and leveled to the maximum, so this quest is a bit boring. You can either convince the Overseer to lift the lockdown of the vault so that others can come and go as they please, or persuade the rebels inside to leave the vault against his wishes. No matter what you choose, Amada kicks you out for good, and you're never allowed to return from that point. As I stated, with the life that has been presented to you outside the underground home you were forced to be a part of, suddenly you venture back out into the wastes and realize hope comes in many forms. There's hope that when the universe is stripped of its brightest stars, mankind will light the way. It is he who will continue to form constellations guiding the lost souls of the Wasteland. Though the Wasteland has taken so much from you, both physically and mentally, you persevered. You kept your head high and earned an honest name for yourself. You showed your father that even though he never wanted this life for you, there was simply no escaping, but you remained whole regardless of the ugliness thrown in your face. Fallout 3 had the greatest story because it dared to show you a harsh reality that nobody could have been prepared for. Even after conducting this review and playing the game by myself, I've learned a shit ton about it, almost like a long-lost brother, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive further into it on my own time. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is one I felt really passionate about, so please keep in mind that my opinion doesn't really matter. If you don't think the third game is good, that's totally fine. You'd be horribly wrong, but it's still okay. I do see how a lot of people would look back on it today in bad taste, but it helps to improve the game a bit with mods and to just put your mindset back into the state it was when the game first released. And relax while you enjoy some dated but excellent gameplay of the greatest Fallout story game to exist. At least in my opinion. Thanks again, everyone, and as always, I'll see you next time.